Hey, Eddie, how are you doing?
Hi, Mary. Good, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out here on Music Junkie Press. We understand there's a big week for you here on that metal show.
Every week's a big week.
Yeah, it is. You guys have, we just realized that this is week 8. You guys have an incredible lineup. We understand, I think it's a Tom Kiefer and Mick Mars is coming out.
Yeah, Tom Kiefer is the musical guest. He plays in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Mars is the on-set guest for the full hour, the interview. And yeah, it's great to have Mick, who's kind of, I think, a unsung hero of Motley Crue and somebody people don't hear from all that often.
Very true. Now, is this the first time actually for any Motley Crue member to be on?
Oh no,
Okay.
we had an entire 1-hour special with Vince that we did from Vegas.
That's right.
2 years ago. We did a Vegas special, and Vince was our guest. And we also had we did something in England like 4 years ago, and Tommy was on with us for a little bit during that. So this is the third of the 4 guys. Nikki has yet to be on with us, but and ironically, Nikki's the guy I'm closest with in the band, and I talk to all the time. But yet to be on the show. Of course, when he's ready, the door's open for him.
That's exciting. Now, this is a great show. I think, now you guys, actually, I think Tom Kiefer, I think I was there last year with the taping when he came out, because we were in L.A. for that. He's just a great guy with great stories as well. And he's going to be he's playing, I think, a little gift you guys got from Eddie Van Halen?
Yeah, well, we, a couple weeks ago, it came on our radar that Eddie, I know that Eddie Van Halen has watched the show,
Mm-hmm.
And his wife, who is his publicist as well, since the beginning. Because in our very first episode that we ever did, we did a parody, we did a spoof with some fans outside of the Van Halen show at the Garden. And I know they saw that because they reached out to me after it aired because they thought it was funny.
Yep.
So he's an elusive guy to get as far as an interview, and he's pretty much right up there as our number one guy we'd like to one day get. But, them watching the show, and I think Jakey Lee and a couple of players you've had on recently have played his amplifiers.
Uh-huh.
And then other guitarists have come in and played, different amps. And basically, I guess, a couple weeks ago we got a message through various channels that he'd be willing to get, send us a rig for the set to have on set for everybody to play, which, of course, is a tremendous honor, and we accepted, and Tom's the first one to play the one that Eddie sent, I think.
Oh, that's awesome. He should have hand-delivered that to you.
Well, that was the idea. I said, well, why don't you deliver it yourself so that, you can be on here with us and we can finally get you on. But he's a kind of shy guy. He's a reclusive guy, and needless to say, whenever he wants to do the show, we'd be honored to have him. I think him sending a fire maybe gets us a little bit closer, but we'll see where it goes from here.
No, it's exciting. I look forward to it, definitely. Now this year is completely different. And now you have the different taping format where you guys are taping in the beginning of the week, and I think you're airing it at the end, so you're very current on all the latest news. How is that going, the new format?
It's been great. It is the first time we've ever done it like this.
Mm-hmm.
We tape on Tuesday nights in New York, and the episode premieres that Saturday, so what people will see premiere our night was shot just this past Tuesday,
Yeah.
and it's been really fun doing it like this. We've never done it like this before. We've always shot 2 episodes a day for like a week and then been done and come home and they roll out over 2-3 months.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's advantages to that too because it's cheaper to do it that way. Saves a lot of money, and we get all our work done in basically a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But this is a great way of doing it for exactly the reason you said, because people are able to see it current, topical. Something happens, we can jump right on it that week. I'm used to doing that because my whole background is in radio.
Uh-huh.
And radio is so immediate, which is one of the many things I like about it. But in television, you can do something that might take a month or 2 months for people to finally see it. So this, at least for the first time people are seeing it, it's only 5 days old. And then, obviously, VH1 Classic repeats these things for years and a million times. So it's still, though, immediate for the premiere. And it's been really fun doing it like that. I really enjoyed it. I mean, there's pros and cons, as I said, to each way. But it's been really fun to do it like this for the first time. And if that continues or where we go is 100% up to the network. But it's been a cool way of working. And, of course, we could only do that if we were doing it back in New York because we all live move there or stay there for three months or something, and that would be way cost prohibitive.
Well, it's great also because we also get more of an in-depth, I think, interview this week you had with Mick Mars. We get to hear even more of your interviews with him on your radio show, which is great. We really get, that was great. You posted that this week. I love that.
Yeah, thanks. Well, that's something, I mean, I have a role in that metal show beyond just what I do on camera. I do stuff behind the scenes, and one of the big things I do behind the scenes is get the guests. And I've been lucky in that regard that since we're taping on Tuesdays, a lot of these guys are coming into town on Monday, so I'm able to pick them off and say, hey, come on in and sit in with me. And that's how that worked out with Nick. It was really good. A lot of people had a lot of very, very positive comments about that interview, so that's really cool.
It was great to hear from him. You really rarely hear from him, and then just to hear him, he's just a great guy also. Stand-up, classy act.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I know on the show, you have, of course, the segment Stump the Trunk. I mean, you are definitely the Google of metal and rock news. You know, we don't need to Google it. We just ask you, do you ever get a lot of people offset trying to stump you?
Yeah, all the time, actually. I don't, and by the way, I mean, I say this to people all the time, I do not think by any stretch of the imagination that I know it all.
Yes.
I don't. I think that I obviously have spent my life in the music industry, and I know probably a little bit more than the average rock fan just because I've been around it my whole life. There's tons of stuff I don't know. So I don't ever want to come off like that guy who thinks he's a know-it-all.
Yeah.
It's become a fun bit in
Definitely.
the show. It's become insanely popular. People love the back and forth. They love love to see me get crazy. They love whatever Jim's going to say that's crazy or what comes out of left field. So it's become, this benchmark bit in the entire show of all things that we do. And, yeah, certainly whenever I'm out, I'll have people come up to me, or especially at a concert or something, like, I always wanted to see if you knew this. So it's fun. I mean, it's cool, but it's not, I always like to tell people, it's like, hey, I don't think by any stretch that I know it all. I don't want to come off like this guy beating his chest saying, well, I know everything about this and that, because there's plenty I don't know.
No, you come across perfectly. We love it. I mean, it's a fun segment. I loved it. I think even when he had Matt Nathanson on there, we know him from here in the Bay Area, and even him doing his question to you, it was great. It's definitely one of the funnest parts of it. I love it. He was classic with that.
Matt was crazy. I mean, what's really funny is that these guys, like a guy like Matt, he's a successful artist in his genre of music and in his own right, but that was like the one thing he was just dying to do. Like, he was just actually like nervous about it. He's like, I can't believe I'm actually doing this. I'm asking you a question. This is unbelievable. It's just like, it's so funny. I guess as fans of the show, these people see this and they just see it as as a fun thing that they really want to do one day. And hey, that's great. I mean, I appreciate it, but I get a kick out of how into it the people get. Like Matt's face was like hysterical when I saw the show back of how into it he was.
It was. That was a great one, I think. And also, you must get a lot of people, of course, trying to come up to you and tell you about their band or their favorite music. I mean, has there been like an awkward time where people are coming up to you trying to tell you about bands?
Yeah, well, it's tough when you're at a concert and it's loud as heck and there's a million people going and screaming and somebody's trying to tell you about a demo or a band you should be listening to. I mean, it's always hard to talk at concerts when a band is playing. I mean, that's the most difficult thing for me because I go to these concerts because I want to hear the band and I want to see them. And a lot of times, I like watching the concerts from the front. I like standing out in the crowd. I like standing by the soundboard. I like where I can really hear the show properly. So, and I don't mind, I don't think of myself anything more than a fan, and I don't mind mixing it up and getting right out there with all the other fans. But sometimes when you want to just, band you really love, and you just want to get to the show, and every 5 seconds somebody's tapping you on the shoulder to tell you about their band or Stump the Trunk or something, of course there's moments where you want to just be like, let's just wait on that until the band's done playing, because A, it's hard to hear, and you find yourself screaming over music all night, and B, you're there to see the show. So, it is funny how that can, you never know where it's going to come from. Randomly, anybody could hit you with anything.
It's true. I mean, we know we couldn't let you go without letting you know two of our favorites, of course, which actually, they're East Coast. We're in California, but two of ours are, Centerlink out of Boston and Switchblade Stern. I gotta tell you those guys. Yeah,
I mean, the problem is there are everybody has got their bands that they love.
Yep.
And I don't mean to say it's a problem, but it's a problem in the sense that everyone's looking for that leg up on getting some awareness and exposure. And I get it. It's extremely competitive out there, and there's so many bands. And to everybody who is a fan of that band, that is the most important band, and they're all looking for a way to get the word out about them. Unfortunately, that metal show has limited time, and the network clearly wants the biggest names possible.
Oh, yeah.
Names that most people are going to turn on and say, hey, we know who that guy is. So it's a very tough balancing act, but, in this day and age that we're in, where everybody is making music because technology makes it so easy, everybody has a band.
Yeah.
Everybody has a group they're championing. And it's just so hard to find the time to listen to everything and try to do something for everybody. And I can tell you, I'm not alone in that. I've got a million bands I absolutely love that people will, never see on that metal show because they're just not big enough names, or they haven't reached a certain point in their career yet where they're going to get enough notice. We do the best we can with that. We've got the Metal Modem thing that we do.
Yes.
Which has, been a chance to spotlight some newer bands. And we also, even if it's something minor like holding up the record and saying it's a new thing we like, or even wearing a T-shirt.
That's true. That's very true. Like, I'll put it on the table and you ask them, what's your favorite new band? It's perfect. You're really opening the doors for people to listen to them. I love that.
Yeah, any way we can get a mention, asking the artists who the new bands are, or even if it's an obscure band, if one of us wears a T-shirt, inevitably, the show's gotten to such a point with fans that if they see a logo on one of our shirts, they're going to Google it and find out about the band. So it's really, there are ways we can help without just having the person sitting there for an interview, which in a lot of cases isn't going to happen unless they get some real increase in their popularity.
It is. It's amazing because, that metal show has actually been so great at acknowledging the hard rock and the metal scene. It's like we almost need, a TMS tour festival. Take it out on the road, We need to get you, even at that metal show award show. You guys are great at acknowledging it.
All of that has been mentioned, to be honest with you, a lot over the years. But it's we can't do it on our own.
Yeah.
In other words, that metal show is owned by VH1 Classic, and anything that we were to do along those lines has to come from them. They would have to be on board with it. They would have to sponsor it. They'd have to make the deals for it. So we can't go and do that on our own. But it's been presented, and it's just a question of if and when the network decides it's something that they want to jump in and do. We do stuff, I do stuff constantly on my own, where I go out, under my name and host things, and I have regular events every year that I do around the country. Going to Mexico next week for the first time. I went to
That's right.
Costa Rica last year where the show is seen. So I do a lot of stuff on my own. Myself, Don, and Jim do some stuff together in clubs where we do a kind of a stand-up show. But as far as that metal show branded tour or something like that, that would have to come from VH1 Classic. And, it's been discussed, but it's really more their world to make a decision on.
That's right. Now, you mentioned Mexico. That's a big festival coming up in next week, isn't it? Or you're going out for that?
Yeah, it's a week. It's next weekend. It's called Hell and Heaven Festival, and yeah, the show, that metal show is seen in Mexico, and we have a huge fan base there. And the promoter reached out to my booking agent and said, would they want to come out and appear at this and host it? So I am going to do that for 2 days next weekend.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Now, how about lastly? Could you tell us? Is there a couple of people that we'd like to look up at, bands that you want to mention that we can, have our audience take a look at?
Yeah, there's tons. There's a ton of great new music out there these days. There's a band, this record I just got now that I'm really, really liking is a group called KXM.
Oh, yes. It's Ray Luzier, Doug Pinnick, and George Lynch. Yeah, great. Amazing work, actually.
Yeah, it's really, really very heavy groove-oriented stuff. I've listened to them, and I've known those guys personally for decades. But this coming together has been really cool. I've really enjoyed what I've listened to so far. I also, the Winery Dogs are a band that I had a hand in putting together. Their record came out last year. Same thing, a trio, amazing players, and it's still, it was my favorite record in 2013. There's some new stuff I like. This band King I like, Kyng.
Yes.
A band out of Canada called Monster Truck. LA band called Rival Sons. There's a lot of newer bands, young new bands that are coming out that sound like old bands. They sound like they're from the 70s, even though they're young kids. And I think that's really cool because that's kind of the music that I love the best. So I'm excited about some of this new stuff coming. I just hope that it has a chance. You know, unfortunately, there's so much music out there, and everybody now has more than one band, and it's so hard to kind of focus on anything. And I hope that some of this stuff breaks through.
Oh, you know, I'm going to list those names for everybody too, and send some links so we can get everybody listening to them as well.
Yeah, there's tons of good, Scorpion Child, another band from
Yes.
Austin, Texas. We had the singer on the show a couple weeks ago on Skype. There's a lot of great new music and bands out there. It's just a question of seeking it out, finding out what you like, and working through all the clutter, if you will. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that there's just such a volume of bands, and everyone's looking for that leg up. And some of these bands, you know, these guys are in them for 3 months and then on to the next and forming another band. So it's really hard to navigate the water sometimes. But if you can, a couple of these things have popped up at me, and I think they're really cool.
Now, we're going to share this with our audience, and we really thank you so much for your time, Eddie. We're going to be tuning in to this Saturday night, as every Saturday night, and it's the perfect way to watch on Sunday morning after a night of going to shows. We turn it on as well.
Yeah, a lot of people watch on the DVR as well.
Yep.
It repeats all week, and I appreciate you giving me a few minutes.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye, Eddie.